Greeting to all the students. Welcome to Global Online. As you all are aware that we have started with a revision series, that is, these revision series basically is talking about your paper 1 complete revision, where we have completed the unit of teaching aptitude. We have also completed the unit of research aptitude, and today we are going to see a complete rapid revision series for paper 1, and we have taken the unit that is communication. Now, which includes, now not only we are not only taking the entire unit, but also the very repeated topic in the examination, which comes as models of communication. So we have also taken models of communication. Now, before going ahead, let's understand, apart from this, what does Global Online has to offer you all for. So Global Online has brought up a quick revision PDF for paper 1. Now, this quick revision PDF consists of 2000 plus MCQs, updated MCQs, current affairs, short notes, previous year questions, including the answer key, and the most repeated questions. Now, all this is available at a fee cost of rupees 699. You can get in touch with us on the given WhatsApp number in order to avail your PDF copy for your revision for your upcoming examination. Apart from this, we also, you can, as a student, you can go to Global Online app. This Global Online app is available with the help of Google Play Store. You can download the app. This is how the interface of the app looks like, where we have brought up a revision crash course also. Now, the speciality of this revision crash course, you will be getting all the lectures, the daily live lectures, including the recorded classes, 60 plus mock tests, full syllabus notes. It will also include 2000 plus MCQs, that is the question bank. And this is all available on the app. You can get in. You can see the view. This is the interface, which will looks like unit wise. It is all segregated and properly organized so that it will be easier for you to refer the notes. And for in case if you have any doubts or concerns or query, you can get in touch with us. So let's start the session for the day, that is communication unit. Now, first thing what we are going to do is, but the very important topic is, we are going to look at various types of communication models. So basically, there are 3 types of communication models. Now, please have a very clear attention. Be attentive for this topic, because nowadays in UGC NET examination, we can see questions coming up. At the end, I will take some questions on communication, which will help you to give an idea for your examination, upcoming examination also. So we have these questions, okay, we have these models which are divided into 3 types, that is linear model, interactive model, and transactional model. Now, let's understand what comes under linear model. Now, linear model is a one type of model of communication, but under these linear model, I have created a table, so it will be easier for you to remember what comes under linear model. So we have Aristotle model of communication, we have Lasswell's model of communication, we have Shannon and Weaver's model of communication, and we have Berlow's SMCR model of communication. So we have these 4 models, which comes under what? Which comes under linear model of communication. Now let's see one by one all these models. But before that, let's understand what is linear model of communication. Now see, when we talk about linear model of communication, it is that type of model of communication which is one way. That is, it is one way where feedback is not present. So linear, that is, linear indicates one-way interaction model where feedback is not present. Linear is the primary model of communication. So now from this, you may get the questions. Like, for example, they will be giving you various models and they will be asking you to recognize which is one of the primary model of communication. So that is called as what? It is called as linear model of communication. Whereas the transactional model of communication is formed, it's based on linear model. So unless and until you do not have linear model of communication, you cannot come across transactional and interactive model. So linear model of communications forms a base. Okay. Now, here the sender communicates with the receiver without receiving feedback. And that's what is the characteristics of a linear model. Now, what the linear model says that the sender communicates without receiving the feedback. It means feedback receiving is not an important aspect in linear model of communication. So you may get a question on this also, where the feedback is missing, in which model. But yes, the question can be coming in the form of twisted question or twisted sentence. So you have to be careful reading this question very well. And as I said, it represents what? It represents one way of communication. Fine. Now, so this is how your linear model diagrammatically looks. That is sender, the message, the channel, noise, receiver. And there is no feedback, so you cannot see a feedback option. Here, this way, one-way process, the model gets completed. Now, under that, as I said, we have various models. So if you remember, or if you, just to help you to recall, these are the 4 types of model which comes under linear. That is Aristotle model, Lasswell's model, Shannon-Weaver model, and Berlow's model. These are the 4 types. So let's see one by one, what are they? So Aristotle model of communication. Now, when we talk about Aristotle model of communication, it is the model of communication where, now please remember, just have a look at the diagrammatic presentation also, where Aristotle model of communication has a speaker. Instead of having the traditional sender message, they have a different components. It has speaker, it has speech, it has audiences, and it has effect. Okay. And obviously, this takes place on an occasion. On a specific occasion, the speech is, directed towards the audience. So here, what is the main impact of these Aristotle model of communication? That it is the golden rule to excel in public seminars or public speaking or lectures, where the sender, that is the speaker, make his points very clear by designing an impressive content, passing on the message to the second part, that is to the audiences, and simply respond to it accordingly. So here the sender is an active member. So Aristotle model of communication comes with an exceptional examples like, public speaking, seminars, lecture, where the speaker makes an impressive content with his, with his speech, obviously. And here the speaker, that is the sender, plays an very important or active role. Fine. Now coming to next is Lasswell's model of communication. So now in Lasswell's model of communication, the communicator, that is the sender, says the message, says what? A message. In which channel? That is with the help of a medium. To whom? That is to the receiver. With what effect? That is the effect is given. So here we have Lasswell's communication model. So where the communicator, okay, who, that is the communicator, says what is basically the message, in which channel it talks about the medium, to whom it talks about the receiver, with what effect it talks about the effect. So yes, this is basically the Lasswell's communication model, and these are the components. Who says what, in which channel, to whom, or with what effect. So these are the given options. Okay. Now, coming to Shannon and Weaver's model. Now, Shannon and Weaver model, yes, it is again a type which comes under linear model of communication, which is very much popular model and accepted all over the world. Now, here what happens is that in the Shannon and Weaver model, it simply proposes that a message actually originates from the person who gets the thought or has the information. So how is the origin of the message done? So origin of the message is basically from a person who gets that specific thought or has the information. The sender is also called the source of information or information source. So remember this also sentence very well. It can come for, for an example, you can get a question where the sender is known as source of information. Now, the information gets transmitted from the brain to mouth and comes out as a signal. And that signal itself, the signal or the thought itself is the occasion where the message gets originated. The recipient further passes the messages to its final destination or to the other individuals who are a part of these communication channels. Is it clear? So yes, see, every model which we are talking about. Now we spoke about Aristotle model. As I said, it is very specifically for the speakers, for the public speakers, for seminars, for lectures. We spoke about Lasswell's model. It has a different way of component. We spoke about Shannon and Weaver model. It has, how the message originates and what is the sender known as. Okay, next we have is Berlow's model. Now in Berlow's model, we can see SMCR, that is the acronym SMCR stands for, S stands for source, then we have message, then we have channel, and then we have receiver. So when we talk about the source, source indicates what? Source indicates your communication skills, that is from the sender to the receiver. So source indicates your communication skills, your attitudes, your knowledge, your social system and culture, which is applicable even to receiver. So sender and receiver has these components which you can see. Then we have message, that is in the form of content. What is the content of the message? What are the elements which are included? What is the treatment? What is the structure? And what is the code? Channel includes all your sensation in the form of hearing, seeing, touching, smelling, and tasting. So yes, this is how the model is developed. Now, if you see, now what is the difference between Aristotle's model and Berlow's model? So basically in Berlow's model, you consider the emotional aspect of the message. Now, this is also very, very important. So, Steve, we studied four models. We studied Aristotle, we studied Laswell's model, we studied Shannon and Vivo's model, and we studied Berlow's model. So, which model talks about the emotional aspect of the message? It is the Berlow's model. Is it clear? And yes, you should remember the acronym very well. S stands for source, M stands for message, C stands for channel, and R stands for receiver. Then coming to the next, now this slide is basically a gist. It means that if you want to summarize all the models with the help of the components, with the help of the elements, with the help of their indication that how to remember one specific summarization just to remember the model. So I have just listed all the model of linear model and with their description that, okay, every model has specific thing to remember. So you just have to have a look at this. So this specific slide is just to give you a gist about all the models. Now, next we have is the next model which we are going to turn towards this. Your next type of model is interactive model. So now interactive model where the feedback is present, no doubt it is a two-way method. So if you compare to linear, it is much more, one step ahead here because it is a two-way method with the feedback, which was missing in linear model. But here, what is important to understand is feedback is not simultaneous. It means that either it is providing a slow feedback or it is providing an indirect feedback. So feedback is not simultaneous. You don't have an assurance that it will come in a simultaneous way the moment the receiver receives the message. So it can be slow or it can be indirect. Okay. So this is one special feature characteristics of interactive model. So the interactive model of communication indicates, the mediated and internet-based communication. So again, under interactive model, we have two models, that is Osgood and Schramm model of communication. And we have Messley and MacLean models of communication. So these are the two models which comes under interactive. Now, the reason to segregate and to give it that, maybe you will get a question on, you have to identify which model comes under what. So under interactive model, what comes? So we know now under interactive, there are two models, that is Osgood's model and Wesley and MacLean model. Just now we studied about what? We studied about our first model, linear, under which four model comes, that is Aristotle model, Laswell's model. Then we have your Shannon and Weaver model and your Berlow's model. So you should just, the reason to continuously repeat it so that it gets captured in your memory. And at least okay, these are the three main models, but under these three main models, these are the various types of models which we have. Okay. Now, let's go for Osgood's model. Now, when we talk about our Osgood model, now what is the special characteristics or a feature of this model? It does not follow the conventional pattern. That is a traditional pattern of, communication, that is from source to channel. It does not follow this. Now, what does it follows then? It follows a dynamic process of model of communication. Now, again, this, like, as I said, Berlow's model we have it basically with reference to what? With reference to your emotional aspect. So like that, your Charles Osgood model is something which comes in a dynamic way. So now, when we talk about these dynamic process, let's understand in detail. So when I'm talking about Osgood's model, when I say it is a dynamic process, it means it is an interactive relationship between the source and the receiver, where a person may be a source at one moment and receiver in the next moment. Now, what does it mean that? Sorry. So when we have sender and receiver, okay. So yes, right now, if I'm sending a message, I'm playing the role of what? I'm playing the role of sender. Okay. Now, if I am receiving the message and now I want to say something on behalf of the message. So now I have received the message. Now, again, it is my turn or to say something. It is basically called as what? My role will be reversed and I will be playing the role of sender. So it's vice versa. Okay. So that vice versa process is nothing but it is called as dynamic process. Now, what is dynamic process? It means sender at the same time we can a sender and a receiver, and receiver at the same time can be a receiver and sender. So that is the meaning of dynamic process over here. Okay. Now, let's understand Wesley's and MacLean's model of communication. Now, when we talk about Wesley's and MacLean model of communication, now this particular model of communication gets, a signal from the surrounding. So there are certain signals through which the message gets, initiated. Now, these signals, for example, let us take an example. Now, see, these signals can even take or occur accidentally. And that's how the process of communication starts, or your model of communication, the initiation of the communication starts. So this particular model of communication, it happens due to what? It happens due to your signals which are accidentally occurring, and because of which the model, that is the communication process, gets initiated. Is it clear? So now, like for example, these two models, I have just given you a gist or a summary. So Osgood's model, as I said, it is, it is talking about real-time conversation. That is a dynamic process. Now, as I said, how you will remember dynamic process? Dynamic process talks about what? Dynamic process talks about sender, receiver, playing the reverse roles at one point of time. Okay. And Wesley and MacLean model, it talks about what? It talks about the accidental situation, which can definitely influence the culture, the environment, or the personal factors, resulting into what? Resulting into the initiation of the communication. Okay. Now, this is how it starts. Now, let's see the next type of model, that is transactional model. Okay. So I will complete this transactional model, and very quickly, I will again give you the gist. Now, yes, now many students may be saying that these models of communication, are they necessary? See, as I said initially also, nowadays there are question scenes on these models. Okay. Now it is very important that you need to understand. See, for net examination, the question can come from any aspect. So it is very important that at least now these are the models of communication. Just go through them, just understand them, just have important points about them in mind, so that it becomes easier for you, that even if any question comes, you can attempt the question. And if the question is really like an easy question, a bonus question, you can definitely get marks for that. Okay. So now let's see transactional model of communication. Now, yes, a transactional model of communication is a two-way process of communication. Okay. Where the feedback is very immediate. Okay. So now see, we studied linear model, which was one way. We studied interactive model, which was two-way, but feedback was slow or it was indirect. Here we have transactional model of communication where the feedback is immediate. Okay. So simultaneous feedback is, one of the essential component of transactional model. So again, you may get a question where the question will be based on the feedback. So the feedback is slow, feedback is absent, feedback is indirect, or feedback is immediate. So feedback is immediate in your transactional model. So as I said, that feedback is very fast or direct, and it is, the receiver is compelled to provide an instant feedback. The major difference between interactive and transactional model is that of feedback itself. That is a direct and indirect feedback. Whether we have seen that in interactive model, the feedback is not only slow but indirect, whereas in transactional model, it is very instant and it is directly given. Okay. Now, again, in the transactional model, what models we have? we have against white model, we have helical model of communication, we have Brandlund's model of communication. Now, Newcomb model is not under transactional. Please don't think it is under transactional. No, it's not under transactional. It is a separate model, okay, which I'm going to do. Now, let's see this next model is, okay, so first they have discussed this Brandlund's transactional model. Now, under transactional model, it is a multi-layered feedback system. That is, here the sender and the receiver interchanges their places both equally important, and the message passing takes place with a constant feedback, okay? So the feedback is one of the important element of these type of models. Then we have against white model. Now, in this model, we have 8 stages of communication. Now, the stages of communication starts with thinking, symbolizing, expressing, transmitting, receiving, decoding, feedbacking, and monitoring. Okay, so these are the 8 stages which has to be, kept in mind very well. So now you may get a question on model, against model, white model. So these white model talks about what? It talks about thinking, it talks about symbolizing, it talks about expressing, transmitting, receiving, decoding, feedbacking, and monitoring. So you should remember these steps very well. Okay. Then last comes this helical model. Now, this model is quite different model. Now, the reason why it is different because the communication here, as per these model, the communication starts with your, it starts with birth and it continue. It exists, it exists till the moment. Now, what does it mean? Now, like, for example, let us take an example. Here, the child, whose communication starts evolving. So after, like, for example, now the pattern of communication, obviously, when we see the small kids, okay, they have their own way or tantrums to get the things done from their parents. Now, after some years, the communication continues, but maybe with the maturity level, the kids try to understand or, is able to get the things very well. After many years, the kid grow up, his experience, okay, his present and past experience helps him to become matured. And, till the existing day, obviously, the communication continues with lot of modification. So it is a broader perspective, as I said, and it comes with a complete span of individuals, okay, life. So which starts from childhood and which ends to the current situation, which is very much, you can say matured way. So this entire sequence of communication is basically called as what? Is basically called as helical model of communication. Okay. Again, I have given you the summary over here. White's model, where the feedback is recognized as a communication process. Helical model, which occurs with a complete, spiral. I mean to say helical spiral, a circular process, or you can say elongated way. And Brandlund's model, which talks about private and public impacts on the messages. Is it clear? So if I summarize right now, we did linear model, we did interactive model, and we did transactional model. So in linear model, we did Aristotle model, we did Lasswell's model, we did Shannon and Weaver model, and we did Berlow's model. In interactive model, we did 2 models, that is Osgood's and Wesley's model. Whereas in transactional, we did 3 models, that is the White's model, the helical model, and the last one was the Brandlund's model. So in total, we have done the 9 models, and there is one more model that is called as what? It is called as your Newcomb model. Okay. So this model, what is the speciality of this model? This model is completely different, especially in shape. That is, it's, if you see, all the communication models are cyclic in nature, whereas this particular model is, triangular in shape. So that makes it completely different from, from the rest of the model. And it talks about the social relationship. It emphasizes or takes, it plays important role with respect to social relationship. Now let's see let's have a look over here. So here we are talking about what? We are talking about a specific topic, okay, where a message, we have a receiver and a sender. Now in this, let's have an example and understand this model. So let's take an example. Now here the example comes in such a format that there is a wartime, going on in a specific country. maybe a specific country where the it's a war zone, you can say. And A is the government. A is playing the role of the government. B is playing the role of the public. Okay, that is the civilians. And the war zone is represented by the by X. Okay. So now it is, both A and B's dependence on media is increasing. So A, whatever information the government wants, or whatever information the public wants, okay, that is, they are getting the information from the various options of media. Now, it is basically, okay, here when we talk about the war zone, which is not only crucial importance, but also, the situation of the war zone changes, okay, changes very, changes constantly. So the A and B, that is the government and the civilians, has to be in, in communication, constant communication with each other, just to understand, okay, what is happening, what is going on. Okay. So that has to be, uh, properly analyzed, that has to be properly, kept updated. So the model assumes a significance, okay, of in the light of people's increasing need of information. So here the communication roles plays an important role, that there is a significant increase in the need of information, basically to understand it, what is happening, what is going on, how the things, how the things are reacted, how the things are received, and accordingly the people will definitely understand. And this type of transparency or this type of information will help the people to understand what exactly is happening. Okay. And this piece of information, or the constant information via social media, which comes under what, which comes under your Newcomb's model. Now, as I said, this model is completely different because it plays a role of it has a triangular shape. If you have seen all the models of communication, they are into the circular motion, but this particular model is in the triangular shape. Okay. So now here we have completed all the models. So in total, we have done 10 models. So if you want me to repeat all the 10 models, so we have linear model, where we have studied Aristotle model, we have studied Laswell's model, we have studied Shannon-Weaver model, and we have studied Berlow's model. Then second comes is your interactive model, where we have studied Osgood's model, and where we have studied your Wesley's model. Next comes as transactional model. So where we have studied your Brandlund's model, your White model, and your Helical model. And lastly, we have done the Newcomb's model. So there are totally 10 models which are available, and all these 10 models will help you to ensure that, you know the models of communication well. And whatever type of question comes, maybe you are in a capacity to answer these questions based on the model. Okay. Now, yes, now let's move to the normal communication topics, which are definitely a part of examination. So what is communication? Word derived from, it is derived from the Latin word communicare, which means to share the information. Obviously, here we have sender, the receiver, encoder, decoder, the one who encodes, where the message comes in the form of, the thoughts or ideas, that is encoded, and decoded, the message, that is the receiver, when he use his channels to understand the message or understanding level, that results into what? It results into decoding of the message. Okay. So yes, here communication plays an important role. When we talk about communication, we have to take into consideration everything, that is, the language, the understanding, the culture, the environment, all becomes a part of what? Communication. Now, we have this communication cycle. Basically, on this particular diagram, you can get, the components, various communication components, like context, the sender, the encoding, the message, the channel, decoding, receiver, feedback, noise. All this consists of what? These consist of your components of communication, starting with the context of the message, the sender, the encoding, the message, the channel, decoding, receiver, feedback, and noise. Then we have, I have just listed a easy way to understand encoding and decoding. So encoding is nothing but process of turning thoughts into communication. And basically it is, the message, the encoder uses a medium, that is either a phone call or a email or a text message, in order to have, a face-to-face meeting or a communication tool. So the encoder should take into account noise also, as it can interfere the message. And decoding is the process of turning communication into thoughts. Okay. Now, we have next topic is 7 C's of communication. And now see, on this particular topic, there is no direct question. Please listen to me very carefully. There is no direct question, but this topic is seen with lot of indirect questions very well. Okay, lot of indirect questions are a part of these topic. So you have to remember this topic very well. Most of you are aware of this topic. This is a very common topic, but what mistake students do is they do not read the question very well when the question comes out of this topic. And they just, they are in the hurry, especially in assertion reasoning question, statement question, and they just come up or just make a mistake of answering this question. So yes, 7 C's of communication, where we talk about completeness, that all the information is complete. Concreteness, where we talk about a specific, definite information. Courtesy, where we talk about the commitment and affection. Correctness, where we talk about addressing the audiences correctly. Clarity, which talks about the message to be clear with a specific goal. Consideration, it talks about, that is receiver's interest. Consideration is basically known as receiver's interest. And conciseness, it basically to communicate with least possible words. So these are the 7 C's or principles of communication, which plays an important role in communication. Along with that, we also have 4S. Now see, the meaning is one and the same, but yes, we have four, that is 4S of communication. So in case if you get the topic on this, so you should be able to answer it, that 4S of communication includes what? Shortness, strength, sincerity, simplicity. Shortness, it talks about conciseness. Strength, it talks about accuracy in the message. Sincerity, talks about consideration. And simplicity, it talks about clarity of the message. Okay. Now we have next topic, that is which is important. So I hope everyone is very clear how the questions can be. As I said, I take 2-3 questions at the last. Then skills, what are important skills of communication? That is listening skill, speaking skill, reading skill, and writing skill. So listening, that helps to, now how these skills are important. It helps to, make the spoken language, understand the spoken language, the sounds and interpretation. Speaking talks about grammar, that is linguistic form. Reading talks about, gateway of knowledge. And writing talks about the ability to, the proficiency and ability for grammar and the content. Okay. Now, characteristics of communication. Now see, if you know your 4S and your 7 C's, you can easily understand the characteristics of communication, because the same points are repeated, but it is under the separate heading. Okay, it indicates what? It indicates the clear message, correct message, complete message, precise message, reliability, consideration, and your courtesy. So as I said, this question comes, this question comes as a part of your it comes as a part of your communication only. But how? Just I'll read out one question for you where you will understand, how these messages can be. See here, there was one question, basically in 2022 cycle. The question was about the following effects of oral communication. So what are the effects of oral communication? It results into fragmented information, feedback, or personal connect, or objectivity, or absence of interpretation. So these were the options given, and you were supposed to identify. So as I said, these questions are made out of, these questions are made out of your, out of your topics only, but it is very important that you need to connect it very well, understand the question very well, and come to the answer very well. Now, like for example, in 2022 itself, there was a very easy question. I did this topic with you right now, that is encoding and decoding. Transforming ideas, thoughts, and messages into verbal and non-verbal signs and symbol is called as what? So they gave option as encoding, decoding, channelization, and controlled communication. So we know encoding is nothing but a process of turning thoughts into communication. That is transforming. So see, so simple question, but yes, you should definitely have, an idea that the questions are very simple. The only thing is that your reading, your knowledge, your content plays an important role. So when we, at least in this particular revision classes, you can learn these topics very well, revise it very well in one go, and you can start preparing for your, examinations. Okay. Now moving ahead is our next topic is levels of communication. Another very important topic. Obviously from this topic, you get questions very well. And in this topic, the question comes with the help of example. That is, we have intrapersonal communication, interpersonal communication, group communication, public and mass communication. Here also some students do silly mistakes, but be clear right now. So when I say intra, it is basically talking about what? It is talking about communicating with oneself. So when we talk about intra, that is within. What does word intra means? Intra indicates within. Okay. So it means when you are communicating with your own self, it is called as intrapersonal communication. Does it happen? Yes, it happens. See, like for example, we try to, sometimes we are confused with our thoughts or decision. We try to speak to ourselves. Maybe we try to introspect, we try to analyze the situation where we do not talk to, maybe we do not talk loudly, we talk, we speak in mind. But all those thoughts process which your heart and minds, gets connected through, okay, or they are in conversation with each other. So such type of communication is called as what? It is called as intrapersonal communication. It means you are talking to your own self, oneself. But when two people gets involved in this communication, it means the communication which happens between you and me. Now, it means I'm considering you as a single individual and me as another single individual. So such type of communication is called as what? It is called as your interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication which takes place between two people. Okay. Now, next is, here we have also seen the difference between intra and inter. So the communication between oneself or is called as intra, and between two people is inter. Here what we do is thinking, perception, evaluation. Here in interpersonal communication, we exchange the ideas. Intrapersonal communication is only in the communicator is the only person who is involved, whereas in interpersonal, we have two people who are involved. It is intrapersonal communication does not require any media or channel. Interpersonal communication, it uses verbal and non-verbal media. Okay. Intrapersonal communication, the information does not go beyond the person's mind. It does not goes within anyone's mind, but yes, in interpersonal communication, it goes from one mind or from one person to another. So intrapersonal communication, it is invisible. It's not visible. The person is talking to his own mind or, within his mind. So it's not visible, whereas interpersonal communication is visible. Okay. Then we have again the bifurcation between formal and informal communication. The formal communication, you can say another word for formal communication is corporate communication or business communication. Informal communication is basically which is conducted at a casual way, or which is conducted, in a very unstructured manner. So let's have a look. So formal communication, which is very structurized, very planned, systematically conducted. Yes, with the help of, it is rigid. As I said, you cannot do things the way you want. You have to follow the norms, conditions. So it is rigid. Yes, it is time taking. It is more authentic. It is legal. It is oral and written, and it can be traced. Informal communication, it is basically spontaneous in nature. It is unplanned, unsystematic, unauthorized. It is flexible in nature. It is unofficial. There is no authenticity for this type of communication. And it cannot be traced. You cannot know from where it has came or where it has, taken place. So it is completely unauthorized. Okay. Then we have next is group communication. Now, group communication, which takes place between more than two people, that is three or more members who are involved in communication, is considered as what is considered as group communication. So teachers speaking in a class, okay, or like for example, if I say that in an organization the meeting is conducted between the members or between the employees and the management, such type of communication comes under group communication. Now in some or in some question paper, even the group communication is also called as organizational communication. So yes, in some of the previous year question papers, there was a topic of organizational communication. Students get confused in this. Now, what is this? So organizational communication is nothing but it is like your group communication. Okay. Now, next, which we have is public communication, which takes place at a larger way. Here, the broadcast of a message is done with a selected audiences. Yes, in order to share a specific outcome. Now, the levels of, the last one is mass communication, which takes place among a very large audiences without any personal connect. It is with the help of internet, with the help of television, with the help of radio, with the help of newspapers or magazines, which takes place between, within the people in the mode of these, with the channels or modes of this communication. Okay. Now, yes, very next important topic is types of communication, that is horizontal, vertical, and diagonal. Again, in this topic also, you get the question with the help of examples. I'll tell you some examples. Like for example, here it comes like a faculty of a specific discipline, like let us say commerce, science, or arts. Okay, interacting with another faculty member with that of engineering, with that of technical education, but both are both are at a same level, that is the level of assistant professor. So horizontal communication basically is that communication which takes place between takes place between people at the same rank. Okay, people with the same rank. Now, when we talk about vertical communication, it is basically upward and downward communication. Now, when we say upward and downward communication, now upward basically it means that which goes from lower level to higher level and higher level to lower level. So vice versa. So like for example, something which comes from a head of the department to the team member, or to the lower level. Something which goes from a lower level to the departmental head or to the team member. So this takes place between these two categories, that is downward or upward. So that also comes under vertical communication. Here also you will get it under the form of what? Question. Diagonal communication. Diagonal, it means cross-departmental. Cross-departmental is basically from one department to another. Okay, so like from the Department of Science to Department of Commerce or the Department of Engineering. So that is from one department to another department. Now we have, yes, so this is, I hope this is very clear with everyone. So this one topic you have to ensure that you know the examples very well, types very well, and you are able to do it. Okay. Now, yes, in one of the previous year question paper, there was one topic with the help of levels. Okay, level of communication, that is level A, level D, level B, and level C. I should have organized it in a sequence, but it's okay. So level A is talking about semantic noise, that is the message gets distorted due to ambiguity of words or symbols. Level B comes with the source noise, that is your mumbling or lip-syncing or stammering. Level C is about channel noise, that is technical concern, and level D is about psychological noise, that is preconceived notion. So you have something already in the form of preconceived notion in your mind, which which can result into any type of barriers. So yes, then we have a topic that is called as connotation and denotation. So your connotation, it means the feeling, which is basically based on the personal or cultural aspect. So like, let us take an example, blue. Now we know that blue indicates what? A color, okay? But if you talk about connotation, it can indicate, a expression of sadness. It can, like for example, red also. Red is a color, but it can indicate either love or it can indicate either danger. So that connotation talks about what the personal and cultural meaning aspects, whereas denotation talks about dictionary meaning, the definition meaning. It does not takes into consideration anything. It is just talking about the perfect meaning which is given in the dictionary. Now, connotation can be positive, it can be negative. Okay, so like for example, red, the color of love, which comes positive, but again, red, the color of danger, which comes negative. So there was question on connotation and denotation also. So you should know these concepts well. Okay, next is, yes. Now, next concept was on scaffolding. Now, basically, actually, this concept comes under teaching aptitude also and communication also. So let's understand what is this concept first of all. So scaffolding will come to it. Now leave it to go see. He has defined, the teaching as the role of a teacher and the supporting, other members in the process of development of a child. So like for example, I'll just show you an example. An area where the child is very confident about himself that he can do it. An area where the child feels that no, he requires the support of someone, may be his peers or maybe his teacher. So that is required. That support mechanism is nothing but it is called as scaffolding. So like scaffolding, basically when we use that, we used to give a support. Let us take an example of building construction, where the scaffolding is done in order to renovate the building, or maybe take an example of painting work is done, so that in order to make sure that it provides the support, the scaffolding is done. Once the building is properly, I mean to say, the renovation work is completed, or maybe for minor work, the scaffolding is not required, it is removed. Same way in the teaching process also, if the teacher feels that a child needs support or assistance, teacher will help the child either in counseling, motivation, encouraging. But when that support is not required, it will be taken off. So that is, a scaffolding is provided till the time the child is dependent on someone's support. And when the child knows how to take the things ahead, that support will be removed. That is called as scaffolding. Okay. Now, yes, non-verbal communication. Now, again, in your some question paper, non-verbal communication, you had matched the following, where the technical terms were given and you were supposed to, highlight them. So kinesthetics, that is body movement. Oculus, that is eye contact. Haptics, that is touch movement. Proxemies, that is a space movement. Space when two people are interacting with each other. Paralanguage, which calls us vocalis. Time, chromics is time element. Physical environment, and personal appearance. So I've just wrote these technical terms. You should remember these technical terms very well. Then the same thing I've done, but in, very systematic way, so that in one go, you should be able to know these things very well. So chromics is time, proximate space, oculus, eye contact, oculus, that, olfactors, that is smell, haptics, that is touch, kinesthetics, that is body language, chromatics, that is color, oculus, that is voice. Okay, then you had a topic on synchronous and asynchronous. In 2019, this question came first. Synchronous, it means live participants. So now if I'm taking a live class, so I am teaching and the students on the same time are attending the classes, clearing the doubts, the way we go on live on YouTube. So that is called as synchronous. Asynchronous is the recorded lectures or pre-recorded lectures, which can be seen by any point of time by anyone in any form. Okay. So that is also concept you should know. Then we have next important question, barriers. Okay. So barriers, that is, you have psychological barrier, emotional barrier. We have attitudinal barrier, culture barrier, physical barrier, perceptual barrier, physiological barrier, hierarchical barriers, these barriers. Now, psychological barrier, where your jealousy, insecurity, anger, place, like nothing is there, but maybe because of jealousy, you are not able to get the things clearly, or there is no clarity. So insecurity, which can become an hurdle in your professional life, resulting into some, obstacle. Emotional barrier, where you are not able to take care of your emotions. You do not know how to present your emotions in front of how to present it or how to preserve it. Then we have cultural barriers because of cultural norms, especially working at a global level. These cultural barriers can play an important role. Physical barriers, that is noise, maybe the tech malfunctioning of communication equipments, the like for example, the closed cabins, or maybe take an example of uh, the too much of traffic sounds nearby to the schools or colleges can definitely interrupt the communication. Then we have attitudinal barriers. A right or a wrong attitude can spoil everything. So that comes under attitudinal barrier. Perception, that is your understanding. Physiological barrier, that is, the disability or physical disability can lead to a barrier. Like for example, in previous year question papers, you had a question on physical barrier, that is eyesight. A student sitting on a last bench is not able to concentrate because he's not able to see a clarity towards the board. So such type of physical barriers you get question. Now there was one question also based on psychological barrier. So it was in the statement form. The psychological obstacle in communication can be seen when the receiver fails to refer to the language or to the reality and the experience. This is, that the statement two was the stereotypes held by one also contributes the failure of language. So language, they have psychological and language barrier. Based on that, they have made a statement question. So as I said, the question keeps coming on, but you should know what exactly the topic is and how to understand the question and come to the right answer. Okay. Then next one we have is communication methods, interactive, push and pull. So interactive communication, which is one of the most effective communication, which is, face-to-face communication. Push communication is not face-to-face. The project manager, for example, your project manager sends information to the recipients with no expectation of receiving immediate feedback. So there is no expectation. It's just an act which is done as the process needs or requires it to be done. Pull communication, the sender sends the message or the information, such as, at a shared point, or where the recipients are responsible to use the information at this location. So let's see some examples, okay, over here. So push communication in the form of lectures, memos, emails, voicemails, reports, contract, documents can be the form of where you do sharing, where these things are shared in the meeting or updates given. And pull communication where it is in the, push, it means you are trying to give the information, you are sharing the information. Pull communication, you are attracting the information with the help of websites, wikis, Google Docs, bulletins, dashboard, webinars, or social media. Okay, sorry. So here also communication is the same thing, interactive, push and pull. So interactive, as I said, efficient. Push can reach to the large audiences, and pull is, it is suitable for the data that supports the performance of a specific task. Now we have the types of communication. As I said, verbal communication. What comes under verbal? Face-to-face, telephone communication through Skype or Zoom, or through chatting. Non-verbal communication, eye contact, body language, facial expression, tone of voice, posture, gesture. What are the technical terms? I have taught you this, or I have discussed this. Written communication, email, report, bulletins, letter, manual, telegram. Listening communication, that is in the form of active listening. And visual communication, that is image, infographic, videos, and visual presentation. So please remember, verbal communication, 35% of the verbal communication is, taken the weightage, and non-verbal communication plays an important role with the more weightage. And this has been proved by one of the famous personality, that is Albert Mervin's theory, that is 738 and 55 rule. What are the elements of personal communication? That is 7% of spoken words, 38% of tone, voice, and 55% of body language. That it means it is concluded that the tone of the voice is stronger indicator of emotion than the actual meaning of the word. So the tone plays an important role, okay, along with non-verbal communication. So yes, this is all which we have done for your as I said, for your entire communication unit. So see, these topics, as I keep on saying always in my classes, these topics, whatever we have done, definitely from here, the question definitely will come. The only thing you should be aware of is how you are reading the question, how calmly you are coming to the right option, which is given below. That is very, very important. First thing. Second thing, no doubt, I mean to say some important things also, like your models of communication, that topics I have taken. So make sure that these topics are very well cleared, or very well revised before you go to examination. And now, once after you have gone through this video, you can start with your MCQs also. So this will give you a more understanding scope with the help of, preparation. So any student who is looking from apart from paper 1, anyone who is looking for paper 2 study material, that is in the form of MCQs, that is in the form of your notes for various subjects. Now the subjects, if you see, they are listed on the screen. That is management, economics, computer science, commerce, history, sociology, psychology, Hindi, public administration, environmental science, electronic science, Marathi, philosophy, library science, education, social work, political science, geography, physical education, literature, or law. If you are looking for your paper 2 material for these subjects, please get in touch with us. The given WhatsApp number, you can ping us on the WhatsApp number in order to get this study material. The fees is rupees 1600, but right now we are keeping a 20% off. So the actual fees is rupees 1280. And this will help you to, with your paper 1, it will help you to keep a focus on paper 2 and prepare yourself very well for the examination. Today, we have completed 3rd unit. Tomorrow, we will be doing the unit that is information and communication technology, followed by higher education, people development, and environment. So our main concern is to ensure that with the help of one revision video, you can cover up a lot of topics which is important for the examination. You can go through this video and make sure that your unit is revised very well, and then you can focus or concentrate your remaining part with the basically with respect to what? With respect to your paper MCQ preparation. So that is important. Yes, and that's all for the day. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day ahead. See you tomorrow with a next unit, that is information and communication technology. Thank you.